Hello, everyone, and welcome to Joyful Homemaking. My name is Marissa, and my dear friend Ashley and I today are talking about a very relevant, especially in my life, because I just got back from one of these, and timely conversation for summer coming, and that is how you can be joyfully still a mother and a wife on vacation. So, Ashley, thanks so much for having this conversation with us. I know that your family loves to travel, but sometimes your travels look a little different. I'm thinking about hunting, for example.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. I know I was thinking about that too. I was like, we don't go on vacation really. And I was like, oh, yes, we do. It just isn't what people might think of as vacation. So yeah. And I think, like you said, it's very timely because, well, a lot of people, I'm not sure exactly how spring break works for most people. I know Idaho spring break was 2 weeks ago. And then this week is Oregon spring break, or last week was, I don't know. Anyway, but then Washington apparently gets 2 spring breaks.
Two?
Yeah.
Wow.
They get one in February and one in April, but apparently they have to make up for it by having longer school days.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and then of course, I know we're speaking to a lot of homeschoolers, in which case we do what we want. We vacation when we want. So, yeah. So, okay, but you just got back. I don't even know how many days you were gone for, what exactly, how many states you went through. I know you were going to Arizona. I saw a lot of fun pictures, but because I'm really sporadic on social media, I feel like I never really knew, like, was this from a few days ago? Is this today? Is this? And I didn't really check. I would just look through the pictures and be like, love it. And then, carry on. So anyway, so tell me all about it. How was it? Where did you go? What did you do? Etc.
Love it. Yes. So, well, I think my story about vacations in general kind of starts back several years ago. We got not gifted, but we were offered to buy this trailer that was a refurbished trailer. So it was like pennies. And we decided from then on that vacationing in the form of camping and being outdoors was kind of be our thing. Also, we have a big family. So, like, trying to go to resorts or fly places can be really expensive. So that kind of started our trajectory of desiring to go to as many national parks as we could. And when we sold our house, how long ago was that now? Like 4 years ago, when we sold our house and moved into our trailer for 18 months, we went to so many places in that trailer. Like, we traveled, and it really kind of gave me a bug, right? Like a travel bug, that I really loved being together as a family in a different location, seeing God's creation. And Darren, because of his passion about like a literal 7-day creation and a lot of reading he has done on the flood, it's so like almost an educational to me. I mean, obviously it is to my kids too, but to go to these different places and to see what kind of ideas of how it worked in with God's story from the Bible versus maybe the scientific community's understanding of what they think apart from a Christian worldview. So all that to say, when we pick to go on these vacations, our mindset is completely different than perhaps a mindset of going to a tropical beach and, sitting by the waves while we have, pina colada in our hands. Like, that is not our picture of what works for our family. And I know that me and you're going to get into that a little bit, which will be fun to just chat about. But this kind of leads me to, I put up a question box on our Joyful Homemaking
Good job.
Instagram. Yes, I know. Look at me. I'm like actually trying to figure out this whole social media thing.
Oh, good job. Good job. I'm so not
I don't
there,
know.
but well
Is
done.
it worth it sometimes?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
We're not sure. Yeah.
Anyways, and if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you'll see that I have this like amazing headset on that it's not amazing at all. It's very awkward, but I'm actually horrible at technology, and I had some faux pas with the computer, and that is why I'm wearing this today. Anywho, back to the original content. I put up a question box, and I asked, what kind of questions do you have that are hardships when it comes to vacations? And one of the questions was how to view it as an adventure instead of a vacation. And I think that
Mm.
that is a really good question, because I think that leading up to this, what I'm calling a vacation or adventure that we just took, I had gone through multiple years of mindset shifting to where we create an adventure that looks different than what maybe a vacation, quote unquote, would look like. Coming full circle, Ashley, our vacation, we left from Southeast Idaho and we drove to Utah. So Idaho to Utah, we did like kind of a circle. So the
Okay.
first trip down, we stopped in Kanab. And if you've ever been to Kanab, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, picture like Moab, Utah. It's on the other side of Zion National Park, which we went to last year. So that wasn't our destination, but excuse me, Kanab, like lots of red rock and dry and beautiful. And so we stopped there for 2 days and we did some hiking in the belly of the dragon, which is a famous hike. And we went to Toadstool Trail, which has hoodoos. All these words I never even knew about living in
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest. And those were really fun. And then we went to the Nautilus Trail. It's like these rocks are just like totally formed in such unique ways. And like I mentioned earlier, Darren would talk about like, how do you think a rock could be manipulated into looking like this? And talked about things from floods to volcanoes to wind and erosion, like all of these things. And what I appreciate about bringing attention to those things is that when you're doing other reading, like in your school or in your life, you can kind of like connect that to things that you've seen. But also when you read the Bible and like you hear about like the waters springing forth from under the earth, you're like, whoa, like I can kind of see the catastrophic nature of that account. So anyways, we were there in Kanab and then we drove down to Phoenix, Arizona. And I had actually never been to Arizona before. It was the first, excuse me, Phoenix, Arizona. We had gone to the Grand Canyon in northern Arizona in one of our travels. But my parents flew from Oregon to meet us there. And
Oh,
we were
fun.
there for a week. We did a lot of hiking, which is a theme that you'll hear from me. We drove down to see Saguaro National Park with all the cactuses right out of Tucson. That was very fun too. And then my parents flew home and we drove back to Utah, but we went through Nevada to Utah and our destination was St. George, but we stopped in right outside of Las Vegas. There's this amazing state park called Oh boy. Valley of Fire. I got it. It's a miracle. Sometimes my brain does not keep up with what I'm doing. But we stopped at that state park. Again, just beautiful red rocks, like gorgeous. We saw a lot of animals, like mountain sheep. We saw a mountain goat on a different one. And anyway, super fun. And then we landed in St. George, which we did some more state parks like Snow Canyon State Park and Red Reef Recreational Park and Pioneer Park. So lots of fun. And then we drove home back to Southeast Idaho. So that was our trip. It was 9 days,
Okay.
lots of pre-planning,
Mm-hmm.
lots of flexibility in the middle, and lots of fun. And I know we're going to get to kind of talk about that as a wife and as a mother when you're on vacation. So hopefully I said that quickly enough. I feel like I just rambled. Sorry,
No,
Ashley.
that's right. Yeah, no, I wanted to know because I was, like I said, I wasn't keeping up super well with your travels, but I was seeing pictures on and off. So, okay, you guys did a lot of places. How many national parks did you do in that time?
Well, actually, we only hit one national park
Okay,
that trip. Hit several state parks, which
okay.
if you've been to Utah, there is lots of national parks, but their state parks are amazing too. It's like, and so I don't know. I definitely, if you ever go, put some state parks on your list too.
Heard good things about St. George too. I've heard that's a really fun vacation spot, but I don't know. Yeah. So, okay. Well, fun. And so of all of the places you went on this trip, what would you say was like the highlight of your trip?
That is such a hard question. Like, we stopped at a few things that were not, like I said, national parks or state parks. We stopped at like the Meteor Crater, and we stopped at like Horseshoe Bend. And we also did things like the Phoenix Zoo and this really cute like train station thing. So there was just so many, like to pick a favorite is really hard, I think. But so aside from like a favorite location, I think a favorite thing that happened is that when you are in the car for hours on end,
Mhm.
like it was, I think it's 16 hours from where we live down to Phoenix. And so we split it into 2 days of driving there and then 2 days back. So that's just a lot of hours. It's like 30, plus hours in the car. And we just, I mean, a lot of conversations come up that I think are unexpected. Like I heard a mom, actually Angie from Courageous Mom, she encouraged other moms. She's like, it's so tempting to put on music or like a story, which are all good things,
Mhm.
while you're doing drives. But don't forget to have some downtime because
Mhm.
in that downtime, just like when you're at home and boredom, things come up, like you get creative when you're bored. You start talking about things you don't realize are on your mind when it's quiet. And so that was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and I do love that time in the car too because it's captive audience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes when it's just those short drives around town or whatever, it's a little bit different. But like you're saying, like when you've been in the car for a while and your mind is just wandering, and kids are so funny because they'll just say something and you're like, okay, that thought has obviously been going for about 45 minutes. So I don't know where you are in this thought. Can you like go back, like give me a little context to what we're talking about? I think it's really funny when they just ask or say something out of the blue and you're like, okay, what are we talking about here? And then you have to like figure it out. And anyway, I mean, I do that to my husband too sometimes, I think, where I'm like,
Me too. Me
just
too.
start talking about something and he's like, whoa, I don't know what's happening in your brain. And I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I mean, like everything you and Darren do, you guys are so intentional about the, like, even your vacations, or I don't know, that's a thing I was thinking about too. I was like, what would we say there's a difference between like traveling and vacationing, right? But then it is vacationing because people have to travel for work and it's not work. You're doing it for pleasure. You're doing it for fun. So it is a vacation. But I think that we take that word, we put a weird context to that word, like you were kind of saying at the beginning, just like we're going to sit by a pool, we're going to sip our drink and or whatever, read our magazine. I don't know, whatever thing. To me that sounds horribly boring. Like horribly boring. So I don't understand the whole sit by the pool thing. But I know that there are some people that like that sounds really appealing to them, and probably especially when you're in that thick of new motherhood with like a lot of littles and you're just so overwhelmed, then the idea of just like laying and doing nothing actually sounds really appealing. So I get that too. But I think, like I was saying with you and Darren, you guys are so intentional about everything. You're so intentional about your travels, your vacations. Like, okay, we want to talk about creation with our kids. We want to see evidence of creation and show them that and talk them through that. We want to just enjoy what God has done for us, what he's made. And so I just, and then right down to like you were saying, just intentional time in the car, even time where it's silent. And so people can bring whatever up that they might bring up. And I'm sure that those conversations, it'd be almost funny to like record like a little bit of time in the car, just see what people, especially with so many kids all bouncing ideas off each other. They're so cute. Anyway, and I think too, like when I think about like our trips, I mean, it's less spiritual, right? Like we're going hunting or whatever, but there's a point, like we have kind of an idea, like a goal in mind. First of all, we're hoping to improve skills in, all kinds. I mean, hunting really does take a lot of different skills, whether it's bow or rifle hunting, and it's different, depending on the animal. And Lane can take out 1 or 2 kids at a time and like teach them what that's like. And that's really, I don't know, that's really sweet time together that you just don't get otherwise. And again, you're out in creation, sometimes literally sitting for hours, like waiting for animals or calling or doing different things. Oh my goodness. Sorry, it's kind of loud outside my door. Hope you can't hear it. Anyway, but and then of course we're in a place usually, and this is my favorite part, where we don't have cell phone reception. And I love that too. Like, to me, that piece of it that to me is relaxing. And that doesn't mean that I'm not still taking care of kids, still cleaning. I mean, as you know, the trailer or RV in our case, like, so dirty, so fast all the time. Like, I just feel like I'm constantly cleaning. And you're still cooking, you're still doing dishes, like all of those things. My role hasn't changed, but I do love the intentionality of getting out somewhere where we don't have cell phone service, where it's just board games and snacks and hikes. And anyway, and so I think just going into vacations with intentionality is so important. Like, what are we doing this for? What is the point? And I mean, obviously there's nothing wrong with taking your kids and flying to Europe. You know, that's super fun for vacation too. But I think even that you'd have to go, okay, what's our point? Are we going to talk about history? Are we just there to see the sights? Are we just there to relax or enjoy ourselves or whatever it might be? I don't really think Europe with kids sounds super relaxing, but I just think it's really important to like think through these things and why are we doing them and what does that look like? So, okay. As you are preparing for vacationing, because that in it, like, that's a whole, we could probably do an entire podcast on just prep. Like, how specifically do you help Darren in preparing for these vacations? I'd be curious about that.
That's a really good question. And two things. One, I am working on a YouTube at our at Raising Rice's YouTube account that kind of like highlights our trip and talks about the prep.
Okay.
Specifically about like we pack all the food, we have like a bin system that goes on our car, like all those things. So if that's interesting, you can hit that YouTube and watch it. But also one of the question boxes on our Instagram was about husbands. Like, how do I continue to be a helpmate to my husband in new situations? And this person was alluding to like sometimes new things stress her husband out. I know, like, it was so unique. We used to live, you know, where Ashley lives, like in the city where there are multiple lanes on the freeway and traffic galore. And then we've only been here in Southeast Idaho for like almost 2 years, where it's like a 2-lane highway and there's not a lot of traffic. And we got to Phoenix and there was like 6, 8 lanes. And Karen's like, oh my word. like almost that we forgot, you know, like, and it kind of like elevated the stress a little bit. Like, we did this, and I don't know if you've seen the silly reels. Like, isn't it interesting that you have to like turn down the music to focus on where you're going? Like, I remember in the car being like, okay, guys, we're going to like, just like bring our volume down. We're going to turn off everything, you know, our conversation, music, whatever it is, because daddy needs to focus on driving in this new place. And so I think that as the helpmate, in order to prepare for where we're going, I kind of need to like start thinking about like, oh, what things could come up, you know, like I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not a prophet. I can't tell you for, you know, what's going to happen in the future, but what I can do is I can evaluate different situations and how can I be the helpmate to my whole family and specifically my husband, even in packing. I packed the Band-Aids. I packed, you know, a nausea homeopathic for in the car because we have a 12-seat passenger van, and in the back it can get a little bumpy. And so I don't know. I just try to, when preparing, making my packing list, try to think like what things could be beneficial. I pack like electrolyte drinks because we're doing a lot of hiking in a hot place and we're not used to that. And so I think that's one way that I support my husband and my whole family. Another thing too that I struggle with, and I think that I don't know if other people do this too, but when you're on a vacation, sometimes there is that mindset of like great togetherness, right? Togetherness as a family. But there's also that togetherness as a couple, like that you crave, that you want to be together. And sometimes that looks different for the wife than it does for the husband. Maybe the wife really wants that like conversation time or that like connecting to see where they're at, either spiritually or like what their thought process is, where like maybe the husband might really want that connection of like physical touch or a bond that way. And so as the helpmate and as knowing that we have just different love languages. I think that one thing I try to do is just to prepare myself mentally, like to fulfill his needs will actually fulfill my needs. Because when I give in and pour into like my children, or I give in and pour into my husband, there is like a reciprocal that comes back. And it's not that I'm expecting that, but when other people's needs are met, then it allows them to be in a better disposition. It allows them to feel my needs because they are fulfilled, I guess. I hopefully I'm saying that right. Hopefully that makes sense. But um so that's another way that I try to support my husband. As the helpmate to my family, another question that came up on the Instagram was children.
Mm-hmm.
How, like, do you support your kids in these new environments? Because you're going somewhere new, like whether you're flying on the airplane and you're going to Europe, like you said, or you're driving 18 hours and going 2 states away, or maybe you're just going camping, or maybe you're going to the beach for the day. Whatever it is going to be new for your children, most likely. And I think that there is a strategy I know we use, and I'm pretty sure you guys use it too. And we call it a team huddle. We like huddle up before we go into some place, and we lay out the expectations. We lay out like potential things that could be, like, say we're hiking, could be dangerous. Like we were in rattlesnake country. So like, like, okay, so when you're stepping down, like down and there's a rock and there's a lip, like be aware, that's sometimes where rattlesnakes might hang out. And we never put our finger or our faces in holes because animals usually live in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm sure like with hunting, you guys, same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we just kind of talk about potential things that come up. We also talk about like expectations. Like say we're going into the Phoenix Zoo. So this is a busy place. There's a lot of people. These are what we do as a family. Or simply going into a restaurant. Like we usually don't eat out when we go on vacation, but say you did. And like, this is how we behave in a restaurant. We are going to be ambassadors for Christ. We are showing Christ's love and example to those that see us. So we do that team huddle. And then things happen like in the middle of a game, and we got to call a timeout and a huddle again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the huddle is important because you're all connected together, close in. There is like attention to the speaker. We use the word like, hey kids, or hey Rice kids. And they know that that is a time that mom or dad are talking and they need to focus. And we also have things we put in strategies for if we need them to come to us right away. Like I remember practicing that when I had toddlers at the park, and I wanted, like, if I felt like there was something I didn't like, or it was time to go, even simply, or whatever, I just, do my call and they would all come. And we would practice that in our house, and we would practice that in our backyard. And then we would practice that when we went to the park. And it's still kind of that same thing,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is a way to support your children when you are in new places. And as I'm saying these things, right, like as I'm talking about being the helpmate to the husband and being the helpmate to the kids, like there's a couple things that like pop up in my mind that people might be thinking, like, that's a lot of work. Like this is supposed to be a vacation, right? But your job, your role as a mom and a wife, they don't go away just because you go on vacation. Ashley, you say this so good every Mother's Day. Every Mother's Day, you remind moms that guess what? We're celebrating moms. And that doesn't mean you're not a mom that day, right? There's still things that we do. So I don't know. And I'm sure you feel that way with like hunting and any sort of vacation too for you guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes. And I love that you talked about expectations, because I think like I have to remind myself like the expectations that God has for me. Like I'm still a Christian on the road. I'm still a helpmeet when we're driving. I'm still a mother when we get there. Like all of those roles are still expected of me, like you're saying. And I also, laying out expectations for kids, I think is so important, because it can be, and depending on your kids, some kids do better than others, but some kids have a really hard time being in a new environment. Even though it's fun and exciting, it can be really overwhelming. And so you really have to make sure that they understand we still have the same expectations. And like I remind my kids, like there's still consequences if we can't live up, you know, and of course they're not going to do everything perfectly. There's do-overs. There's let's try that again. Or, you know what, we just need to go to bed early today because it's been a long day. You know, traveling is exhausting. Vacationing can be really tiring. But like if there's sin problems going on that need to be addressed and then need to have consequences, like it doesn't matter if we're on vacation, we still do those. And we remind them of that too. Like there's still consequences even on vacation. So, and
So good.
I think that's really important for a lot of reasons, especially like just to have the mindset of we don't like God's commands are still God's commands, and obedient to parents is still obedience to parents, regardless of where we are. And we don't have major problems or anything on vacations, but I do think that kids can get really overwhelmed. And I get overwhelmed too, you know, being in a new environment and that sort of thing. Yeah, so I think it's really good to be aware of that kind of thing.
That you said that. I was just thinking while you were talking, I was like, I have this like distinct memory of being completely overwhelmed at a church camp out. And it was so funny. I had 5 kids at the time, and they were like 5 under 5. And the thing that made me overwhelmed, Ashley, was that the toys were everywhere. Like, and let's just have a chuckle because it's camping.
Mhm.
Like, you know, like your outdoor toys should be everywhere. Like, and I don't know what it was. I just got overwhelmed. And then I had pulled Darren aside and like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just overwhelmed and all these things. And he's like, what's bothering you? And I'm like, the toys, they're everywhere. So Darren just simply got like 2 of our boxes and he just told the kids, he just huddled them up. Hey, when you're done with the toy, I just need it to go in the box. He's like, I know it's outside, but we're gonna help mom and we're gonna put it in the box. And in that moment, what I realized after I like calmed down from my like craze, and I was like, it wasn't necessarily the toys. I mean, that's what came out as, but it was like this, like I wanted to be in control of like my setting and my surroundings, and it was new, and I was trying to navigate how I like watch my 5 children under 5, take care of all the things. You know, I just got overwhelmed, and that sometimes will happen. And as the leader and the helpmate, like you, like I'm the helpmate, I could go to my leader and I could be like, help, like this is where I'm at, and then a solution can be formed.
Mhm.
So we're not, when we talk about vacations and adventures here on our podcast, we're not talking about it out of a place of perfection, but rather out of a place of like experiencing the overwhelm and experiencing the need to still mother and parent,
Mhm.
because we all have, you know, human children that
Mhm.
still are sinful even on vacation. And so you bring up such a good point there.
Yeah, and I think too, yeah, we are all still sinful. We're all still human. And if people are having problems at home, either with like if you're a mom and you're feeling discontented and you're like, we just need a vacation, or if
Yeah.
you have a child that you just are so fed up with, like, let's just take them somewhere, you know, like if there's a sin problem happening in your own heart or sin with your children that you're not addressing, a new location is not going to make that better. And I think that is, I'm not saying this is a blanket statement. So if you're listening to this and you've ever gone on vacation and been like, that went terribly, I'm not saying that this is why, but I'm not saying it's not why, is that I hear sometimes about people having a bad time on vacation with their children. And it's because it's not the vacation or the children it's the sin that's the problem, maybe in their own heart or maybe again with their children. And if it is their children's sin, then guess whose responsibility it is to deal with that? Like that would be you know, like that is the parent's responsibility. So I think that's such a good
And I
point.
think
Okay,
like,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Oh, sorry. Along with what you're saying, I think that like unrealistic expectations
Mm-hmm.
of a vacation have to be addressed within your heart. Like it's a heart issue. Like you were saying, like sometimes I think and I hear about people's desires to go on a vacation and that everybody will get along and that there'll be, you know, lots of like, let's use the example sitting by the pool, going out to eat. Those are not necessarily the practice that you have at home, right? You have a different practice at home. And that, so now to like project that onto your children or onto you and your husband, you're asking for a different scenario than what you're used to. And so it makes sense that maybe that scenario will not go like what you want it to in your mind. Maybe just that's putting it hopefully gently. Having like the Hollywood version of a vacation is Hollywood. Like that is made up, right? Like
Yes.
you still are going to have conflicts with your husband. You are still going to have discipline for your children. And if you think that you're not going to, then you're going to be disappointed, right? Like, but if you think we're still going to address the sin nature of our own hearts, but we are going and we're going to address it right on, and we're going to have tools in our toolbox to handle these things, then when they come up, they're dealt with, and then you're not dwelling on it. You move on and you enjoy your time, right?
Yes. Yes. It's so true. It's so, I mean, honestly, I think too, we have a lot of practice with this too, because you think about just like the little things, think about just holidays,
Yeah.
like holidays, it's like a break from the routine. Your kids are excited about it. But you have to make sure that the expectations are still there, that but that also the expectations aren't too high. Like like
Yeah.
when you go on vacation for yourself and your children, just to be really
Yeah.
realistic with like, look, we're going to go to this place and it is a fun place to be, but like maybe you even have to tell them like, we can't afford the food, or don't ask for things in the gift shop, or, like sometimes you just have to like make those expectations. And that doesn't mean you can't still make it fun. This is just a silly example, but last week was James' spring break because he does online school that's based out in Idaho. So his spring break aligned with Idaho's spring break. He told me Sunday night, and I was like, what? You have this week off? And I haven't, so I'm like trying to plan. So we went to the zoo one day, and it's fun, but like everybody knows, we're not going to stand in line for 20 minutes and buy everyone a $12 elephant ear. Like that's just not realistic. But I took them but I still want it to be fun, So I took them to the, it was like grocery outlet or something. Anyway, they got to pick out snacks that they usually don't have, but it was still, so it's like, I still wanted to make it a fun time. And then my mom came and bought them all something from the gift shop. So that doesn't usually happen though. Like they know that's not the norm. No, so I'm not saying you shouldn't make it fun and you shouldn't be like, this is still going to be really stringent and we're going to be very, like militant about this. Like, no, make it fun, buy some snacks, do whatever. But I just think expectations are important. Expectations of, we expect obedience, we expect good attitudes. We also need you to not expect that we can spend a ton, or that this is going to be like Disneyland, or, I don't know. There's just, I think that's really important. And honestly, any vacation is a fun vacation when you're with people that are in a good mood, Like when I think about like doing chicken butchering with a bunch of fun people that were in good moods, like, is that something that should be super fun? No, but can that be a really joyful time? That was a silly example, but you just think about these things. If you're with a bunch of people that are just going into it with a good attitude, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
And to remember that.
Oh, go ahead.
To remember that the age of your children too, right? Like
yes,
my toddler's not going to be able to keep up with my preteen.
Yeah.
And my toddler is going to need a nap. And sometimes that means dividing, like sometimes that means I'm going to stay with the littles and Darren's going to take the bigs on like a difficult hike. And I had to heart check myself too. Like, this is my role. This is my privilege right now to do this. I'm not always going to be able to have toddlers. And so it's okay. It's okay if I'm missing this thing. It's okay for my kids to have this special thing with dad, So yeah, just heart check you, right? What was your question going to be?
Oh, that's such a good point. No, I have all these notes and we've hit like most things, but not in the order I had them in, which is totally fine. They're not in like a great order anyways. But I think what you were saying is a really good segue, talking about just naps and things. I'm just curious, because vacationing, you do have to be flexible, right? You're in the car, people are going to fall asleep at weird times, or maybe you're on a plane and you have to catch a flight. I mean, there's just so many variables. It's not going to be exactly like it is at home, right? That's part of vacation. But I'm curious what sorts of things that your family keeps in place as like, these are the rhythms and routines that we really that we find important, and we need to continue these on vacation?
That's a really good question. And I think that as I develop rhythms like prior to vacation in our own flexibility in our own home, there are times that we miss things like we miss naps, or maybe we'll have too much sugar or whatever, and I think that as I experience those outside of vacation, I see the ramifications of it. And so then in a vacation, when we are becoming flexible, more flexible than we would be at home, if I start to see the ramifications or the consequences of that flexibility, like triggering or like starting to build, like Darren and I have our own huddle and we're like, okay, we need to do this to get us back in place. One thing that we really try to have centering is our dinner time. I would say that even when we're on vacation, even if we're having a picnic outside dinners are very important. We try never to have dinners on the road. We always try to like sit and talk and pray and be together as a family. But like lunches feel a lot more flexible, and like breakfasts too. So I would say like a consistent is dinner. I want a consistent to be sleep, but it is always interrupted, especially when you're traveling. You're trying to do the naps, in the car, it doesn't really happen. So instead of having sleep or instead of having nap time, we really try to plug in a quiet time every day. And even if that means like we're driving 30 minutes to something and it's not the traditional quiet time that we have at home, maybe we'll be like, okay, so this is going to be quiet time for everyone. So we're just going to play some soft music and no talking. Like everyone's just going to rest their body, rest their minds. And so we try to do that every day, a quiet time, dinner time. And then I would like, okay, so one of our goals as a family in general, vacation or not, is to have family Bible time. Some people call it family worship, and we try to have that every evening before bed. And because when you're on vacation, the times are flexible. We stay at a place with a pool, and so you're like swimming in the evening, And so our family Bible time on vacation looks a lot different than our family Bible time at home. But we do try to have some kind of thing where we connect as a family before bed and prayer. And then it really kind of lends itself to like peace and relaxing the body before bed. So I would say maybe those are our three that I try. I would like to also say that we try not to do a lot of sugar, but when I'm with my parents as well, they're like, oh, there's an ice cream store. And we're like, oh no,
I know. And then you're like, well, I can't deny you the opportunity to bless your grandchildren with ice cream. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to your point also, like it's difficult depending on ages of kids and whatever the vacation may be. We did one hunting trip. I don't even remember. We counted how many people there were. I don't remember. There was so many families. It was just a ton of people out in the middle of nowhere, and all the guys were all hunting, and it was really fun. But it's like, it's really hard to have a routine when there's just so much activity going on everywhere, and the men are gone early or late, and you're not sure. And anyway, I mean, I think 3 meals a day, just trying to stay really consistent with meals is important, of course, but that gets difficult even with evening routine, because it's like, well, everybody wants to go sit around the campfire or whatever it might be. But we do try to take whatever book we're reading, because either Lane or I will read. We read a book often before bed with all the kids at home. And so we'll try to take a book just because I think that's a good way just to kind of get everybody's like mindset into like the bed mindset before we pray and brush teeth and all that, is just to kind of get together and read. And we do that on, a lot of our vacations. So, I don't know. That's awesome. Just one thing. But we also don't have any nappers anymore. So my kids all gave up naps really young anyways. But napping on vacation is just like, it can feel really tricky.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Well, awesome. Okay, this is kind of I don't know if you feel the need to touch on this or not, but I was just thinking about, because one of the hardest things can be just being away from home. Especially you and I, we both have lots of animals. We have there's just so much. And I think that just being really intentional about that and trying to plan that way ahead of time. And that's one of the things too, between the husband and the wife, because the home is more the wife's responsibility, that's something that like I really try to take care of. And I really try being the key word. I try to have a clean home to come home to.
Yes. Yeah.
That's like one of the most defeating feelings is when you, although I remember like our 9-day hunting trip this last time, I think my kids like forgot how to live indoors because we got home and everybody comes in like in their boots and everybody's, you know, like we haven't showered. I mean, everybody's disgusting. All of our stuff is disgusting. There's just like piles of laundry, like it's bad. And one of my children comes, sits down at the dining room table and just starts whittling like in the house, just like sawdust, you know? And I was like, what? No, you're not, like, we're not outdoors anymore. Like, we don't live outside anymore. You can't just come whittle in the middle of our dining room and everything, you know, it was just chaos. It was so funny though. And like, this is not how we can live, you guys. But anyway, yeah. And then there's the recovery mode, right? And I'm like, I never want to like step foot in the RV for like days afterward, but I also know that if I clean it out, like as soon as I get home, I'll feel so much better. But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Oh, good times. Anyhow, okay. So what is cooking? You guys have a lot going on. And then you took off for 9 days and now you're home still with a lot going on.
Yeah, I know. We shared here that Darren got laid off and then it was like layoff, and then we had this vacation planned. We really contemplated like, should we still go on it? But like everything was paid for and he didn't have work anyway, so we went. That was challenging though, because I was like, don't buy that, don't do that, you know, but it's okay. So now we're back and he has some hours at the hospital, which is good, but not like before. So not full-time hours there. That means we've been doing a lot of projects outside because we got some nice weather and we're building like a fence and working on our garden beds and our flower beds. But one of the things that's cooking and that we're really working on, hopefully for this weekend to launch, is our farm stand. Because, because we live in Southeast Idaho, we are not choosing to do an open farm stand. Like you may have seen some of those cute ones just like on the side of the road. They're just like a table type of thing and just a bunch of produce and whatnot. But we made ours a walk-in one. So it's like this big shed looking thing, a little barn shed, and you walk inside and then you can get all the things. So we have our own spice mixes that we do ship. So if you want to check that out at heritagehomefamilyfarm.com, please do. So we have our spices there. We have a little kids corner where my kids are making all of their things. And we're going to do baked goods. Once our produce starts and our flowers start, we'll have that. And then we're going to have a freezer in there where people can come and get whole pasture-raised chickens throughout the summer and fall and winter, and as long as we have them, I guess. So that's kind of what's going on over here. What's going on with you?
That is so cool. Okay, so if we want to see this farm stand, what would that be on your Heritage Home Family Farms Instagram page? Will you be doing like a little tour?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We've been trying to post like updated pictures about us like decorating it and like setting it up. But we still need to do a formal walkthrough. We're just waiting for a few more things. So
well, awesome. So fun. That's super exciting. That's awesome. And yeah, I wish we lived closer. I'd love to get some chickens from you guys. I was just telling Lane, I'm like, we've got to build a chicken tractor.
Yeah.
Because
you totally can. We
have friends that do chickens, but it's not all the time. They don't always have chickens for us, you know? And so, I hate nagging them. Yeah. Like, when are you going to do chickens again? But, and then I buy them from Azure, but you know, I'm like, if we could raise them ourselves, they'd be a little bit more cost effective at least.
Totally.
Anyway, yeah. And we've butchered stuff before. We've butchered birds and hogs. So. Anyway,
do it.
So yeah. Yes. Yeah, what's cooking? I have so much food. I feel like I'm like, what in the pie slice of my thoughts? Like the pie, how much of that is just taken up in like, what's the next meal? What am I going to feed? I am taking, oh my goodness. Okay, Marissa. So I'm taking a meal to this family tonight. So they have a new baby girl, super
Yay.
sweet. They have a toddler girl, and now they have new baby girl. And she has health problems, so she had really hard pregnancy. So there was a meal train when she was pregnant. So I signed up for the meal train. I was going to make her some chicken soup. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, and can't do onions. So I made my own onion-free stock, and I cut up all these veggies, and I made some wild rice. It was going to be this great hearty soup. And I, cooked my own chickens and did all this stuff. And I'm making the soup, and I'm sauteing vegetables, and I'm like, oh, it needs some more fat. So I'm putting in butter. And then I'm like, I called her, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was putting butter in your soup. And I'm thinking because some people are we can't do most things, but some people can do butter. And they can't do butter. So she was like, it's really okay. We have all these leftovers from our last meal train. And her diet was so limited anyways. There were so few. Anyway, I felt horrible. So I didn't bring her a meal then. Okay. So then this time around, I signed up to bring them rice noodles, those millet brown rice noodles with chicken and a peanut sauce. So I was going to make, and some veggies. So it'll be a Thai dish sort of. Yeah. An authentic Thai. So last night, I'm prepping the chicken thinking, oh, this is going to be really good. I bought 2 really good chickens from Azure, and I was going to do them both. So our family and their family could have some. And I'm talking to Lane about it, and he's don't mess it up again and forget and do dairy. I had the chickens to brine in buttermilk.
No.
What was I thinking? Oh, it'll be fine. Let me just soak the food in your allergen.
No.
So anyway, I have a Fred Meyer pickup in 20 minutes. I just did a click list. I was I need some vegetables, and I don't want to go buy more chicken, but I'm going to have to because I cannot believe I did that. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, I just was what is wrong with me? Apparently, it's a good thing we don't have allergies in our house, because apparently I can't cook with my mind thinking the right way. Anyway, ugh. Oh, well.
Allergies are no joke. People that cook and bake and do all those things with allergies, they are set apart.
Oh, I feel if we had a gluten allergy or something, I'd be well, we're going to have rice and potatoes, and I'm just buying our baked goods. I just feel it would be it's hard enough to consistently have the time to make baked goods when you don't have to think so hard about it. I don't know. I just can't. Actually, we have a couple of friends that have extreme allergies in their home, and he's always telling me about all their different mixes with all these different types of flours, and then they have to do this and that, and they make it all, and I'm aren't there gluten-free bakeries? This sounds so much work. I don't know. I cannot even imagine. Anyway, but yeah. Anyway,
crazy.
So that's what I'm doing today, is not giving them chicken soaked in buttermilk. Oh, anyway, but then Thursday night we do family Bible study and dessert. It's our dessert night.
Lovely.
So that's what we're doing tonight. So I'm going to make a little strawberry galette, I think. So.
Ooh, that sounds just so springy and delicious.
I know, when we have mint growing. So I was oh,
yeah.
It will be delicious. So anyway.
I'll be right over.
Yeah. Oh, I wish you could. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you for all your knowledge.
Thank you.
I'm inspired. I'm okay, we actually have a vacation coming up in June. I can put all these things into practice. So anyway, yeah. Okay.
Vacations are so good. It is hard when you have a farm though. So when we were hiking, in the Valley of Fire, our dog got out, and a neighbor texted us and was your dog's out. And I'm because our dog protects our goats. So I'm oh no, is our goats out? And so it's a whole thing. And even if you don't have a farm, just prepping your house and stuff to go, it's a challenge. I think that's why people that used to do multi-generational family living, it was such a gift. You had someone already at your house.
So true. I know. Well, and then our dog has to go somewhere else. We either have to board her, or my mom, that's 45 minutes from our house, or an hour from our house, has to take her or something, because it doesn't work for whoever's here, because she's so high maintenance. But then, but we're getting our 4-H lambs Saturday. So,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, anyway, it's always stacking up. So then you're like, somebody has to be here to take care of the animals here, but then we also have to have animals that we take somewhere. Anyway,
Totally.
yeah. So
It's crazy.
why vacation? Why are we vacationing? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
be good. Anyhow, okay. Well, thank you, friend. This podcast in itself is like a little mini vacation for me to come chat with you for an hour.
I love chatting with you. It's so fun.
That's so fun. And I need to pull you about stuff too, so I'll do that. But I won't make the listeners listen to that. So anyway, thank you, listeners, for listening. And hopefully we'll be back next week.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay, sounds good. See you later. Bye.